I'm now going to finish A Day of Rest, Chapter 9. The rumble came again, louder this time. "What's that?" Susan questioned Bert again. "That sound like thunder." "That's a truck climbing the hill in front of our house," came Bert's response. "You've heard it lots of times." "It sounds different down here." "Maybe so, but it's still a truck climbing the hill right in front of our house." Susan looked questioningly at Jim. "He's right, Susan." Jim nodded his head in agreement. "It's a truck in low gear, probably a coal truck." "But it's Sunday." "Lots of trucks run on Sunday. They don't have to worry about traffic from the farmers going to work in their wagons or tractors then." "They would have to worry about wagons today. There were lots of wagons at the singing convention," Bert declared as he started walking forward. "Is our house up that way?" Susan questioned as she pointed toward the sound of the truck. "Yeah, it's up there." Bert nodded. "But we'll go this way and get a drink." Bert swerved abruptly to the right, jumped off the road bed, and ran pell-mell down the side of the hill. Jim followed close behind Bert. "Bert, I'm supposed to go straight home," Susan yelled after the two boys as she stood on the flat roadbed and watched Bert and Jim jumping and twisting to avoid low bushes as they went down the mountainside, finally coming to a stop where a stream cut down a narrow valley. Bert turned and looked back at his sister standing halfway up the side of the mountain above him. "Come on, Susan," he said disgustedly. "The singing convention ain't over. Nobody expects us home yet. We'll be home before they do. Nobody will ever know that we didn't go straight home." "I might get my dress dirty," Susan yelled back at Bert far below her. "There's no need to get the dress dirty. You can be careful." Susan tried to be careful. She didn't try to jump and run the way Bert and Jim had done, but the shale on the bank of the roadbed was slippery, and once she had started to slide, it was necessary to run to keep from falling. And then, once she started to run, it was necessary to jump and twist to miss the small bushes and briars. Susan landed in one piece, with no damage done to her dress, as Bert began walking toward a little stream flowing rapidly down the sharp incline of the valley. "What's that sweet smell?" Susan questioned as she caught up with Bert and Jim beside the little stream. "Oh, that? It's a heart leaf. You must have kicked one when you were running. I'll see if I can find one for you." As Jim and Susan stood watching, Bert climbed back up a few feet and yanked a leaf from the ground. After handing Susan the sweet-smelling, heart-shaped leaf, he dropped to his knees beside the little brook. "You can drink this water if you want to," he said, as he cupped his hands beneath a tiny waterfall. "It is clean. The water comes straight out of the side of the mountain. No willets have a chance to get it dirty." Jim dropped to his knees beside Bert. Bringing the water up to his face in his cupped hands, he rubbed his hands over his face and neck, letting the water dribble down on his shirt. "That feels good," Jim announced as he reached down for more water. "That's the best water I ever tasted," Bert declared as he leaned back on his heels. Seeing that the boys were slurping the water from their hands, Susan leaned over carefully and dipped her hand daintily into the water and took a few sips, being careful that the water would drop on the ground and not on her dress. Susan reached back to get another handful just as Bert commanded that was enough. Susan hurriedly thrust her hand into the stream and dipped up some more water. She quickly drank the water in her hand before she looked at Bert. "Shouldn't drink so much water when you're hot," Bert explained, as he rolled up his overall legs before stepping into the little stream. "We can wade in the stream and cool off. It'll be easier to walk also since we won't have to fight the bushes or the briars." "But where are we going?" Susan asked. "Oh, down this way a piece to a mine that you can get coal out of. You won't get your dress dirty, Bert answered nonchalantly as Susan and Jim followed him down the sharp incline of the stream bed. There was an occasional splash of water on her dress as Susan slipped on the rocky bottom of the stream, but Susan didn't worry. The cool water was clean and it would dry with no damage to the cotton dress. Bert ran swiftly along, darting to one side or leaning over to avoid the underbrush hanging over the stream bed. Susan followed closely behind, conscious as she brushed against the bushes crowding the stream of the smell of sourwood, sassafras, maple, walnut, and horse chestnut. Jim, taller than the other two, constantly had to duck to miss the small bushes that crowded the stream. At last the stream flattened out and made a wide curve around the foot of the hill. As it wandered through a wide valley, the rocky bottom of the stream turned to silt. There were only a few trees towering above, and the bushes growing along the bank thinned out. Bert stepped out of the little stream bed onto the bank as the stream flowed into a pond. Jim, following right behind Susan, reached forward and helped Susan climb the slippery bank. Frogs chirped in the bright sunlight. From the safety of water lily pads growing in the pond, they watched the children walking along the bank. When the youths came too close, the frogs stopped chirping and suddenly dived into the pond. A soft plop told of their departure. Susan pushed in front of Bert. For a moment she stood still until the chirping started again. Then, easing forward slowly, silently, she glided towards a frog sitting at the edge of the pond with only the tip of its nose and its eyes breaking the surface of the water. Slowly, slowly, Susan crept forward. Silently, scarcely breathing, not making a sound, she moved closer. Just as silent as Susan, the frog gave a slight kick with its hind legs and settled down to the bottom of the pool. Breaking into a run, Susan ran as fast as she could, but still she couldn't surprise the frogs. Successive plops in the small pond with accompanying miniature geysers preceded her as she ran. "That's enough, Susan," Bert commanded. "You'll just make yourself all hot and bothered for nothing. The frogs always know you are coming. You'll never catch one." Again, Bert led the way along the side of the stream, leading from the pond. And that is the end of chapter 9. Chapter 10, they're going to reach the cave. I don't think I showed you the picture for chapter 9. There's Susan trying to catch those frogs.